to you, you owners of souls, who are devoid of wrong, who exist for all eternity. Open to me, for I am a spirit in my own shape, and I have power by this, my magic. Save me from my aggressors in this.
They are the whispers of the ancients. They are the echoes of the past.
I have collected this magic in every place where it was, from the possession of anyone who possessed it.
They are the ancients' magical spells. They are the necessary words they believed they would need to achieve immortality.
Hail to you, great God, Lord of justice. I have come to you, my Lord. I have not done falsehood against men. I have done no evil. I have not killed. I am pure, 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 pure.
They are the translations of the ancient Egyptians' inscriptions. They are the hieroglyphs.
Hieroglyph is a Greek word, sacred carving. When the Greeks came in, it was mainly the priests who were the literate class, and they looked at these things and said, oh, these are the priestly writings, the sacred writings.
The Greeks were not far from the truth. For the ancient Egyptians, the hieroglyphs were in fact sacred. Whether colorfully painted or deeply carved, they were written to convey important information.
It's literally the words of the gods. The Medjit Necher is what it was called in ancient Egypt. Not only was it thought to be essentially a gift to the gods, but hieroglyphs had a very potent ability to transcend life and death.
You can then communicate between this world and the next world. You can deal with your dead ancestors. You can deal with the gods through this medium, which is a means by which you can get back and forth and by which you can help to control those forces which are otherwise in a world over which you have very little control.
Despite the ancients' strong belief in their potent power, as the culture became blurred by invaders, the Egyptians' voices were muted by new ways of worship. In the 4th century AD, the last hieroglyph was carved here at the temple of Philae. And once all Egyptian priests had died, the ability to read the sacred inscriptions died as well. For almost 1,500 years, the voices from long ago remained silent. For centuries, educated thinkers tried to decipher these strangely shaped symbols, but to no avail. Often what these perplexed scholars lacked in knowledge, they made up for with imagination. In the 17th century, it was suggested that the hieroglyphs contained the mysteries of the universe. Then in the 18th century, there was a breakthrough when Napoleon Bonaparte invaded Egypt. In 1798, Napoleon came to the ancient land with an army of soldiers and Egyptian scholars. The soldiers were brought to fight the enemy, while scholars were brought to measure the monuments, study the architecture, and copy the inscriptions. Their efforts were designed to better understand the lost civilization. Interestingly, the most important discovery came not from a scholar. Instead, it was a soldier who was responsible for unearthing the tremendous artifact that broke open the walls barring an understanding of the past. In the summer of 1799, the French were losing to the British, who had also invaded Egypt. In an effort to strengthen defenses, the French were rebuilding an Arabic fort along the Nile near the town of Rosetta. While tearing apart the fortress walls, a soldier tripped upon an almost 1,500-pound tablet. This tablet would become known as the Rosetta Stone. The Rosetta Stone was the first discovery of its kind. It contained the 3 types of script familiar to the people from the lost civilization. There were the sacred carvings or the hieroglyphs, another form of ancient writing known as demotic, and a script in a language still understood by the modern world, Greek. However, despite the familiar words upon the Rosetta Stone, its missing pieces made it difficult to decipher. For over 2 decades, scholars tried to grasp the meaning behind the mysterious script. After hours of intellectual labor, a 32-year-old bookseller's son, with an affinity for language, known as Jean-François Champollion, cracked the secret code and deciphered the stone. Its content contained a thank you note from priests to Pharaoh Ptolemy V, written in 196 BC. Champollion had proved that the hieroglyphs were more than mere picture writing. They were in fact symbolic of both sounds and concepts. His work was the necessary weapon needed to break the silence, and the voices of the ancients could once again be heard while reading the hieroglyphs.
The gone soul journeys on to whence it came, nor can it ever stray to pass of yesteryear.
Now listen to me. Pay some attention to what people say. Spend your days happily. Forget your troubles.
Preserve and hold in trust this letter. Someday it might bring you good. The bodily form, it stirs and quickens. Their magic is working within him.
Just look at us. We are successfully returned. This is our country. We are home.
There was far less guesswork. Assumptions were thrown away now. We could read things. We could fix who were the kings. We could read all the kings' names, so we know who came in order, who came after Ramses, who came before Tutankhamun, and we could fix who went where. Before, it was going from just bits and pieces and guesses of what the Greeks had left us. So Egyptology advanced tremendously after the hieroglyphs were deciphered.
Egyptology had a new understanding of the people, as well as a better understanding for the purpose of these ancient inscriptions.
They were a system of writing, and they manifest themselves in recognizable forms of objects, animals, men, beasts, flowers, items out of nature, physical things like mountains, the sun, the moon. The whole range of human experience, in a sense, is encapsulated in the forms of these hieroglyphs.
It tells you what was important to them. It tells you what they thought the world was like, what they thought happened to them after death, their place in the universe. It tells you their fears and their hopes. It basically puts you in touch with the ancient Egyptians as living people.
And once the ancient Egyptians spoke to modern man, they often had interesting and mysterious tales to tell.